Well, good morning, Sister Jeanne Marie Stickling.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Again, from Illinois, Illini, correct?
Yes, well, from Illinois.
Yes. What I'm so fascinated with about you is that you are a revered artist.
Well, thank you.
And that is a gift many of us do not have. So we have great respect for the artists, especially the artists in our congregation.
Well, thank you.
Were you drawn to drawing and coloring as a child?
Oh, yes. I did a number of sketches as a child. As a young girl, I would draw all kinds of things, and especially people, and give as much as I could to the sketching and
Did your
drawing.
parents encourage you to do that?
Oh,
or-
yes. Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Anyone else in the family that?
I understand that there was someone on both sides of my family that had been artistic, but I'm not exactly sure who they were. But there were some people, some of my aunts or uncles that had been good with artistic things. So
You must have been a star in school.
not
with
not
it.
necessarily. In high school, I did a few kinds of bulletin board things for the sisters. I did that kind of thing, but
That was
yes, that
prized.
yes.
Yes, yeah. But in in high school or grade school, you did have art classes.
Oh yes, they had certain kinds of art classes, not as much as I would have liked, but we did have some kind of artwork to do.
When did you find yourself blossoming into the
Well, basically,
conviction?
when I joined the convent, when I entered, I would be doing all the bulletin boards and all of the artistic things for the sisters.
While you were on mission.
Oh yes,
mission.
definitely, very much.
Did you
so.
study art as a young sister?
Well, I tried to. That was my main goal, is to studying art, but I had to get my academics in. I had to get all my, regular studies so that I would be qualified as a teacher. And I remember all those courses. I think I have as many courses in education as I have in art.
And you used both.
Oh, yes,
And you used
definitely,
both, yes.
definitely. Yes.
So, in your higher education, college and
Yes, at the university.
university, who was your mentor? Who inspired you?
Well, at Barry University in my undergraduate work, I had Sister Mary Joseph Kennedy.
Oh my!
And then over at Siena Heights, I had a number of very good professors. One of the priests there, Father Van Horn, was very good and encouraging us and everything, especially in the sculpture work, because he found out that I really was adept at it. So, and I enjoyed doing that.
Did you
very
do
much
that
so.
at Barry also?
Yes, I did some sculpture work there. In fact, I think they have the head of Dominic that I did. I'm not sure if they have it or one of the local parishes has it, but it's.
Well, I know there's a beautiful sculpture over at Weber Center.
Yes.
It's called The Lady.
Well, she's, I can't remember her name, Hannah, or something like that. She's been dedicated. And it's, I was trying to do 3 different levels of that one particular concept. It's a quotation from Isaiah to pound in your web, your peg, pound in your peg, and make firm your tent.
My.
It's a definite quotation from.
yeah. Well, that certainly
Isaiah.
describes the
That's right.
sculpture.
And I was, and my intention was for 3 different things, and I did do a second one, but I can't remember what happened to that one. So.
It had 7 candles, as I recall, because I've seen that.
That's another sculpture piece I did for Pentecost. It was one of my ideas that I would make the 7 candle holders for the Pentecostal season, and I enjoy that one very much. So.
Did you ever have, during your professional life, a sabbatical to devote the year to art?
Not really.
No?
No.
That wasn't a custom in the congregation, was it?
No, not that I was given that much time. We did have, a year to study before we went out to teach that one year. And I did get a couple of courses, art courses. At Barry, I would take my academics during the year because we went from our parish teaching. And after school, we would have classes at Barry University. And I remember one of the directors down at Barry would get real disgusted with me because I was always pushing for more art classes during the summer. And she says, all you ever want is art. Don't you ever do your academics? I said, well, I'm doing that right now. I would tell her during the school year I would be concentrating on my whatever was required for the to fulfill the academics.
That's quite a schedule that many of us had as young sisters.
Oh, yes.
We would teach school and then go study for a higher education on the weekends or after school. Yes, and then write a thesis.
That's
while you're
I
teaching
never
school.
got that far because my thesis was my artwork. Yes.
But still, that took
took time.
Mm-hmm. Well, when did you first begin doing pottery?
Actually, at Barry, I did the clay work there. I did the sculpture pieces there. And then at Siena Heights, I did a number of, I learned to use the potter's wheel and work with the clay there more so.
Have you ever taught sculpture or pottery?
Well, after my education, when I finished teaching and it was kind of I had retired. Wait a minute, I did teach at College of DuPage. I taught
in Illinois?
Ceramics at College of DuPage. It's the biggest community college in Illinois. It's in Glen Ellen, Illinois. In that I taught clay work there. And it was surprising. We had many older people who, similar to the sisters, didn't get to do their artwork and enjoy their creativity until they had retired. And it was very nice to be able to mentor them and help continue their. And I would tell them, now remember, I'm a good teacher, but I think you should take another teacher's course just to have a difference. And I would encourage them to take the other instructors as well as myself.
Well, that was generous of you.
And I would always try to steer them to the one I felt was better for their type of work that they were interested in.
So they must have had a wheel and a
yes, we
here
had
at the college.
We had about 20 of them there.
Well, you were in heaven.
Oh yes, it was a wonderful place to be. Yes, very much so.
And were you retired at that time?
No, I had not retired yet because I didn't retire until 62. But I was, after the education and teaching and everything, I was able to do this kind of work now. So
that's pretty amazing.
It was very, very nice to be able to continue working with art.
Was there any other sister in our congregation who was drawn to sculpture that you remember?
I remember Stella Mary. I can't remember. She didn't stay in the community.
And Sister Denise Manville.
Well, I didn't really know Sister Denise when she was doing the artwork. I was still down south. See, I had gone to Detroit, as most of the people from Illinois were assigned to the Michigan schools. I had gone to Detroit to teach. I was supposed to teach 5th grade that year. And 3 weeks later, I was reassigned to Florida, much to my surprise. I was absolutely shocked because one of the sisters that had been assigned there had her mother was sick. And so she had to be reassigned to the Detroit school. And so I went to St. James in Miami and was totally shocked with that. which was near Barry, which I was very glad.
Which is providential.
That's right. That's for sure, because I really did like Barry very much.
Oh, yeah.
And then I taught there in various different parish schools, a number of them.
Did any of the student teachers from Barry ever come to your school or your class?
Oh, yes, yes. While I was teaching primary grades there, they had this program where the students, teachers, would come to the various classes and watch, like be mentored by one of the teachers in our school. And I would always ask them if they would like to take over the class for a little while. And it was very interesting. I enjoyed having them teach the children as much as I did. And the children enjoyed it.
Well, that gave them confidence, too, didn't
right.
it?
That's right.
And then you had something to help them with.
That's right.
Well,
I could tell them what would be better to do or what would be very positive to do, continue what they were doing.
Well, I'm very interested in where the seed came from, or how old you were when you thought to yourself, I really want to be a sister or a Dominican sister.
Well, actually, when I went to St. Mary's, I had gone to a
Where is St. Mary's now?
In Elgin, Illinois.
Elgin.
I had gone to a public grade school until I was in 5th grade. And then like in March or something in 5th grade, we moved to the city of Elgin. And the local parish school was St. Mary's, which was taught by the Adrian Dominican Sisters. And there were wonderful sisters there.
Who were some of them?
I had Sister Jeanne and Sister Assisium.
Sister Jeanne Shaner.
Yes,
right?
and
Assisium Ayat.
Yes, and Sister Romaine, Sister Mary Romaine.
Oh my.
Gregory, I think her last name is, and she was really wonderful social studies teacher, which I have always appreciated and continue to be interested in the social studies.
So they made an impact on you.
Oh, definitely.
On you.
And then I went to St. Edward High School, which was also staffed by our sisters. Sister Benvenuta was the principal, and I can't remember too many of the other sisters that were there. Oh, Sister Frances Gerald was there, and I enjoyed their classes.
You had some good teachers.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, yes.
Very much so.
So you wanted to enter when?
I wanted to enter when I was in 8th grade, but both my parents and the sisters were encouraging me to wait until after I finished high school, which I did. You know, I had finished high school in June, well, late May. We had our early graduation that year, I remember, because the bishop had to come for our graduation, and that was the day he assigned to our school. So we had the Bishop Hillinger, I think his name was. And then after graduation in June 27th, I came to Adrian. My parents drove me here. And
well, what was their reaction when you finally...
They were very happy, very proud that I would become a sister.
Even your father?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. He was very glad about it. Well, I was a little bit leery to tell him that, but then when I told him, he gave me a big hug, and was very proud of the fact that I would be a sister.
And did you have many siblings?
I have 2 older sisters and a brother. My oldest sister was 13 years older than myself, and she has since died, and my brother has since died. But my sister Mary Ann, who is 18 months older than I am, is still living.
In Illinois,
she's in Illinois. That's right. That's right.
And what was your father's profession?
And well, actually, he was a farmer until 1947 when we moved into town, and then he started working in a factory, and he was like on the night shift supervisor and getting supplies to the various different groups of people.
Big change for him.
Well, not necessarily. It was something he enjoyed doing, yes. Yes, it was good for him.
Oh, that's great.
That's right. And my mother was able to stay home with us, be at home.
Blessing of
That's
blessings.
right. That's right.
So your father and mother lived through the Depression.
Oh,
That's
yes,
for sure.
they were young people at the time of the Depression, definitely. So, but by the time they were raising a family, it was no longer a problem.
No, yes. And then the majority of your life was spent in Michigan and
No. When I entered the community, then I went down to Florida, and I was down there about 10 to 15 years. Between that and the Caribbean.
The Caribbean.
At one point I went to Puerto Rico and was at Santurce. And then I came back for a year at Fort Walton Beach, and then went back to Puerto Rico, to Guayama. So.
Well, lucky you.
Yes, I was.
And is
there.
your Spanish still good?
No, I never read. I always taught English as a second language, so I didn't get into the Spanish, and I'm not really that good at languages. Some of us have the gift.
Just give me some clay.
That's right. And I was very fortunate when I came back to the Illinois area. I was able to, by that time we were able to choose where we were. And at one point my mother said, well, Sister so-and-so's near her parents, why can't you be? And I don't remember which sister she was talking about, but I finally decided I better move closer to my parents.
And were you in Elgin?
That's right. Well, no, I was in the Rockford Diocese in a number of parishes, and the one I remember the most was Batavia. I stayed there for about 4 years. I was the religious education coordinator and enjoyed doing that very well, helping the teachers, making sure they had their supplies and whatever help they needed in mentoring.
Did you get some university studies to help you with that?
Well, I had gotten my first degree at Berry, and then I went to Siena Heights. I would come up to Michigan during the summer, and on the way able to visit my family, which was very nice. And I was able to get my degree in
fine arts.
Fine arts, yes. I got my degree in art. And then eventually I went to St. Mary's in Winona, Wisconsin, for my degree for religious studies.
Oh my!
Which I could use some of my work and some of the courses in my other degrees for my master's in religious studies, so that helped.
Did you even have time to do any art while you were working in that field?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
But then I went when I finished those degrees. I was at the College of DuPage, where I was able to do a lot of. I studied for 2 years at the College of DuPage, and then they had an opening for the ceramics, or as they call it, which is pottery. In my world. They had an opening, and because I had the degree, I was hired to teach there and I was there for about 7 years.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Are you involved in the Dominican Institute of Fine Arts?
Yes, we have the Institute, Dominican Institute for the Arts.
Do you know when that began?
It began in like 85, I think.
Were you ever part of the
and I was on the board of directors. The board of directors actually runs the organization. There were 7 of us
From different Dominican congregations.
And we would try to get as many possible. The first time we were on, there were 3 of us that were Adrian Dominicans.
Oh
and so after that, we kind of discouraged that kind of thing. They thought we were monopolizing it. But being Adrian Dominicans, we knew we were all different. Mm-hmm. We weren't organizing it all the same, because different people had different gifts.
Do you remember who those 2 were? Besides yourself?
Joella Miller and Anne Regala.
Is Joella still on the board?
She is now, but but at that time, then she kind of bowed out of it, and then she came back to it. So she's on the board again now. But Anne Regala has since died.
Yes.
We lost her, and she always kept us in stitches. She was so funny. And it was fun to have her.
And isn't the meeting going to be held here in Adrian?
This summer we're going to be having it again here in Adrian.
In July.
It's been here a number of times. So.
And do the Dominican women coming, are they in a variety of creative venues?
Yes. We have photographers, we have even dancers and movement, and we have every, painting, whatever artwork that is possible. Somebody will tell me what kind of creative work they do, and I say, well, you should be in the Dominican Institute of the Arts, because that's part of our one requirement, that you are creative in some way.
Yes.
And they say, well, I'm not really that creative. I said, well, you do this, and we see it here, so you should really join with us.
And today, is technology honored at all?
Like yes. The graphics, graphic arts is
from the computers.
Is, oh, definitely.
Any Dominicans from overseas?
Oh, we have a number. We have one in England. We have a priest that's in England. He always comes. He comes here. His family lives here part of the year. And so he comes to visit them, and then he'll be with us for our meeting. And then we have a woman in South Africa. So,
that's nice.
It's interesting. If we would like more international, but to get them interested in, well, first of all, they can't usually come. The one from South Africa did come one year, but.
Do they bring their wares with them?
We try to have them have some of their things. Most of the people, the sisters or the artists, will bring their things for display. We usually have a place where they can either sell them or have them on display.
Yes,
that's right.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate that way.
There's a room right now that's been dedicated at Weber Center for our sisters' artwork. Sister Janet Doyle has provided that. Are you aware?
I'm aware of it's happening, and I hope they'll be putting my sculpture pieces over there.
We'll send that request to Janet. Yes.
After all, there's one in the main building and one in the Van Weber that can go in there. So.
Do you have any treasure with you right now that is very, very emotionally and historically or religiously important to you?
I made a crucifix when I was at Barry University, which is a very special. I use it all the time. I have it on my wall in my room in Maria. And I made the crucifix out of the actual body form out of silver.
Oh my.
And I was very fortunate to get enough silver to do that, and I can't remember where I got the cross, but it's a very nice piece.
Well, I would like to see it.
Yes, you'll have to come and look at it.
Someday. It doesn't leave your room.
No.
And how long have you been here at Maria?
Since June of 2015. I had fallen where I was living, and I had broke my pelvic bone and shattered the last vertebrae in my spine. And so I needed some therapy and things. And then I was later told that I would be staying. So, and I really do need it because along the way it was found that I had colon cancer.
Oh my.
So it really was
helpful.
Yes, that I am here.
Well, after your marvelous 60 years plus of Adrian Dominican life, what wisdom would you share? Excuse me. What wisdom would you share with one of our young women entering the congregation?
Well, first of all, continue supporting yourself with a solid prayer life, and then enjoy what you're professionally interested in, and really get yourself really educated, or whatever else
Prepared.
you need to do the work that you want to do.
Well, amen.
Thank you.
Those are words of wisdom. Thank you, Jeanne, for your time today. It was so interesting. And for all that you have contributed to the art world and to the congregation. Thank you.
Thank you.